example, the New Year's is a single day. Birthday is a single day. There are so many single days. And why do you think that cybersecurity requires a full month? Because maybe we are too slow to understand the month to grasp the feeling. And you privacy guys are, crisp enough to understand that one day would be enough for all of you guys. Hello, my name is Murat. I became a cybersecurity guy over the years. I'm in the industry for close to 40 years now, and in cybersecurity for, again, close to 30 years. This is me.
Welcome once again. Welcome.
Thank you.
And thank you for being here. So we're going to have like a 30 minutes of conversation with Murat, and then we're going to have like a 15 minutes of Q&A time. So if you have any questions, please drop them in the chat. The more, the better for us to make it as interactive as we can do it. So if you don't want to write it, just open your mic and speak it out loud. That's also very, very welcomed for us. But as for the starters, my first question to you, Murat, is how has the definition of third-party privacy risk evolved in 2026? Are we still just managing vendors, or are we now managing an interconnected web of data-dependent and cloud-driven ecosystems?
Yes.
Next question.
Well, it's not 2026. Even it started maybe 2025, end of 2024. But especially after what's going on in the overall global ecosystem of the policies, everything just switches everything. So the basic changes, as you said, is from your vendor's privacy posture towards the data ecosystem behavior, right? So risks are always around. So risks are always created, or they was basically there were risks associated with any external third party that touches, drives, observes, influences your data, right? So the thing is that over the years, we start to seeing that the risk created by the dependency chains. For example, you have your privacy village, and for whatever reason, I'm your vendor. You're just basically using me to do one specific task. Let's say I am the Google Meet. We are basically currently together to basically talk about that. But then even Google has their back sides, right? So it's not only the third party. I mean, we have to talk about fourth party, fifth party, or the overall ecosystem, right? So,
Exactly.
So at the end, how we need to start thinking. Well, we had to start last year, but again this year we have to start. We are not just managing the vendors. We are managing, as you said, interconnected web of data-dependent ecosystem. That's quite important. So that's a very visible, very understandable, and very important shift that we have to talk about.
Exactly. Thank you for the answer. And it was just like a couple weeks ago that OpenAI had a data breach because of one of their vendors. As I recall, it was Mixpanel, one of the third-party tools. So like the threat is there, and it's happening in our day-to-day tools that we're using already.
Yeah, again, that was the fourth party, not third party. I mean, that was the OpenAI, then OpenAI's CRM, which was, if I'm not wrong, it was Salesforce. And then one of the subcomponents of Salesforce was the one that created the trouble. So, I mean, so it's not a typical third-party risk management or third-party privacy risk management anymore.
Exactly. And what is the most dangerous legacy mistake that you see on the ground that companies still make when assessing third-party risks, especially in an AI-driven market?
Mm-hmm. Well, the couple. The first one is basically people are, or in companies are still doing the flash photography. I use flash photography to basically imitate. Let's say you are a party with a very dark background, okay? And in that background, you have a flash photograph. You simply just take the photo, and then the flash just goes up, and you have a snapshot, right?
Yep.
And that snapshot shows you whatever that is, something static. Maybe you see some hands up, hands down. Maybe somebody looks like they're dancing, but are they moving? Are they standing there? What's going on? So it is not a living exposure. That's the most important mistake that has been doing. But with AI, it's becoming more and more important. So it's not only security, it's also privacy, of course. It's also AI would basically sort of collapse the boundaries between the prompts, embeddings, agents, outputs, and because of those, some telemetry, right? Then they all create a sort of possible privacy leakage. So there's risk around that. So with the AI, how can you really map the data? Where is the data? And what fields and where are they going to? Which agent is going to take it and send it to some place to get some information? What is the information that's actually sent out? Okay.
All these novel mysteries that await you.
Exactly.
And the companies are still doing the same screenings and all, where they're not ready for this, right?
No. And again, I mean, you are basically saying that, okay, I'm doing this only with a closed group. Let's say I'm using one of the AI providers, and who actually provides the cloud infrastructure of that AI? Exactly. Just a very basic question. And who is basically taking care about the identity services? You see, we simply log on using an identity service, but which identity service are you using? Who is logging what's going on? And what are the supporting tools that are used by that AI provider, for example?
Exactly. We have a comment in the chat, so I'm going to read that out loud. Chris said, the biggest risk in the small size UK organizations is they don't generally do none or very little cyber and data protection due diligence at all. If they don't do the basics, well, they'll never capture the AI risk. Any comments on that?
Besides 100% agreed on, Chris. Thanks, Chris, for the comment, by the way. Yes, and maybe not 100%, maybe 98%, that the rest 2% is not, Chris, that's not UK specific. That's basically global. I can at least confirm that for Turkey. I can at least confirm that for many small and medium-sized enterprises for US as well. Hence, maybe Europe in general, including the UK, is sort of in a more advantaged way because the regulations are still, or the regulators are trying to do something on behalf of small and medium enterprises that they wouldn't be able to do that. Well, US was always left behind. But with the latest presidency and with the latest approaches, they simply stop caring at all. So we will be seeing some risks that become a reality, unfortunately, soon.
Thank you both for the comments. And if you're building from scratch a third-party risk management program, right now in 2026, would you focus more on automated logging, automated monitoring, or more an human-oriented approach? Or again, like the best answer would be both, of course, but like where do you stand there with regards to automation versus human policies and such?
Well, like all technology, if I basically specify that I can use any automation technology, but nowadays more and more AI to automate TPRM. It's a very good tool to do whatever you're doing faster, right? Mm-hmm. But if what you are doing is wrong, if you're basically producing garbage, AI will help you to produce more garbage faster. So I am always human first to decide what is acceptable, to decide which data should be allowed where and why and how. And if there is an exception, there are always exceptions. Who's going to approve or based on which decision trees? those should be start with the code of conduct by the humans, which basically going to resolve ambiguity. But then to multiply this structure, we need to be able to basically, there is, just a comma, there is a very nice statistics from, which either Forbes or some other organization says, if a company from, for example, finance industry has 200 third parties, they have approximately 14,000 overall parties that actually have access one way or the other to the data. So it is not possible to basically try to do it everything humanly. That would be too expensive to perform. So you need technology to do the third-party risk management. However, you have to start by human-based decisions.
So human in the loop is the answer that we
As
go
always,
with.
yeah.
All right. We have some comments. This time I'm gonna go with Kaluin. I massacred the name. I'm so sorry. K. Petrov is asking, can you give an example of what can be automated in a third-party risk management process?
Perfect. Well, I can start counting for the rest of the day, so I will not, but I will give you a couple of use cases that I like the most. The first one is, let's assume that you have a process to basically to decide if you will work with that prospect vendor or not. And that would basically create, let's say, you have a very basic questionnaire, let's say, in the form of, let's say, 100 questions, okay? And based on that 100 questions, the vendor shouldn't need to answer all those 100 questions, because based on the dependency of questions to each other, let me give you a very basic example. The first question would be, do you have a working information security management system? That's one question to ask to the prospect vendor. And if the answer is yes, then you have to ask for the scope. You have to ask if it's certified or, if it's basically do they have 27000X certification or not, okay? But if the first answer is no, they have no information security management system, why do you need to ask for the upcoming 10 questions? Or you have a bunch of questions to a possible third party if they are basically developing some software for you or some AI solutions for you. But if they don't, then why are you asking those bunch of questions to them? So you have to have an adaptive way of asking questions. So that could be automated easily. And secondly, let's assume out of that 100 questions, they had to answer 60 of them, and you have 60 answers. And automation can very easily categorize the results into 3 subcategories. The first categorization is the vendor is doing whatever should be done properly, and we are confident. Automation can decide on the confidence if it's above a certain level. Let's say out of that 60 questions, for the 10 or 15 of those, they said they are doing perfectly and they are fine. They simply thumbs up. We don't need to address that. We don't need a human to spend time on that. And again, based on the answers to the questions, automation, AI-based or any type of discrete automation, they can basically decide that some of the things are missing. They don't have proper control in place for a couple of things. You don't need the time of a human to say those are wrong. But then out of those 60 answers, maybe you have 10, 15 answers say that it is slightly vague. We need some extra Q&A. Maybe we have to do a site visit. Maybe we have to do a meeting to decide, to talk about the details, to understand. Maybe check additional information or data to be sure. So automation can basically help the humans who is going to do the third-party risk management, and instead of dealing with 100 or 60 answers, down to 10, 15, which is going to, so that they can concentrate on where they are really experts.
Thank you so much for the answer. One thing I can add to that is like you can do automation for monitoring of certain aspects with regard to, let's say, for data protection. Sub-processors, are they the ones that they have declared on the DPA, or are there any new sub-processors, let's say, they weren't using Google Analytics, but now they're using Google Analytics? Or let's say their servers were in Europe, but now they switched to a US-based data server. And we could get all these from like a scanning of a basic scanner like Velogy is able to do this. And you could get these data from continuous scanning of the technologies and update your records. And if there are discrepancies, face them head on with the evidence collected through these automated solutions. Chris, now I'm going to get to yours. The first comment was, regulatory styles varies significantly across regimes. UK seems to sit between UK, free-for-all market forces, and EU with a tougher, more encompassing style. 100%.
Thank you.
I guess, 100%. And then he continued, my experience is that the vendor due diligence is an iterative process. We start with a triage set of questions, rate them as very high risk down to low risk. Then they get a different question set based on the risk we feel they pose. Agree automation is required to help the human oversight. We sometimes use tools such as DP Organizer and Keepable to do this work. The GDPR data protection tools are rapidly devolving their capability in the space.
Okay,
Exactly.
well, thanks for the input.
I thought it was a question, but yeah, again, a great comment by Chris.
That's okay. But let me do my feedback on that. Thanks, Chris. It's good. I agree. However, depending on the size of the team, I mean, we all know that the size of third-party management team should be larger than what it should be. With small, medium-sized enterprises, there is none, as discussed, but even for larger enterprises, there are always less than what it should be. So, although ideally I do agree that it should be sort of an iterative process, most of the time that iteration is tried to be hidden after a certain set of questions sent. I wouldn't point out names, but even one of the largest organizations, global, my company is a subcontractor on some of them, and they sent us just some questionnaires or sometimes some forms to be answered. And we say, we are not doing such service, and don't they have any triage process that they wouldn't need to ask us those questions? But then we find out that because they have maybe like 10,000 vendors that they have to work with, they simply wouldn't care about doing the triage first. They simply send out, and based on the results, they try to understand what's going on there. Although ideally, I do agree, Chris.
Thank you both for the remarks. My next question is about shadow AI. And it's integrating into every space of our workplaces. And how do we move from detect and block to a model of ongoing visibility and, let's say, safe enablement for the clients, be it lawyers, be it cybersecurity folks such as you? What's your take on it?
Well, before going to shadow AI, let me start with shadow IT. Well, even with shadow IT, starting with virtualization and starting with software as a services solutions, it was very difficult problem to tackle. The main principle to sort it out hasn't changed, and that's still valid to a certain extent for shadow AI as well. Basically, if you're using something, the company needs to pay something. So you can use the finance department to be your one of the detection departments. Legal, if there is a sort of a procurement, if there is a contract in place, legal would basically help us to get, so there is something like that. But so we have to train them. We have to be sure that they would understand us and let us know if there is a prospect shadow there. But with the AI, the main problem or the larger problem when you compare it to shadow IT is the cameras. Because with the rapid development of the multimodal capabilities of current LLMs and most AI or generative AIs, you don't need to connect your computer to that AI. You don't need to use your company network to access to that AI. You can simply take a picture, ask a question, and while you're taking the picture, if there is a name on the side, if there is something else, they wouldn't care. So it basically goes to the basics. We have to really train, and we have to really create awareness within the company, within each and every employee and third party, to get why using this is a very risky process. Having said that, we wouldn't be able to stop people using shadow AI unless we provide non-shadow, just the proper AI to each and every employee, regardless of what the cost will be.
And like, what are the mechanisms for detecting these shadow, be it shadow IT or be it shadow AI, that you see in the front, let's say? I'm really curious about that. How does companies detect if an employee is using Claude, if they're using Gemini for coding, and like basic URL detection and firewall configurations, or like, is there something more comprehensive?
As long as they are using company devices to access to that AI, there are some detection mechanisms. But again, if they are using their personal phones, if they are using their personal phones cameras, it's almost impossible.
I see.
I do remember, maybe it's still the case, I do have a friend who used to work for the Treasury Department of the bank. I'm talking about late 90s and early 2000s. I remember they were not allowed to take phones into the dealer rooms or the Treasury departments. I guess it's not possible. I mean, not for everybody in the company. Yeah. So, I mean, either detecting or blocking, it's almost impossible. What you can do is like, maybe somebody just help me. There is this martial or Eastern martial art where the idea is not using the force against your enemy, but using their force to redirect the force and just either avoid and return the force and use against them. So the only way we can do to deal with detection, blocking, prevention, whatever you call it, you have to provide decent AI solutions.
I see. Thank you so much for the answer. And Chris has one. I agree. He says some sends ISO 2007 requirements to its supply chain as it's part of the process. So everyone gets it. We have to push back and ask them what they really want. Do you push back? He asks.
Yes, I have to sometimes. I mean, and also that creates commercial trouble from time to time, because I mean, there are sometimes the concept of the size difference among companies. For example, the customer is huge, tens or maybe hundreds of thousands of employees, and my company is only maybe mid tens of people working, and they send us some contracts, they send us some questionnaires, and then we push back, and the answer is, well, everybody is signing it. If you don't sign, we're not going to work with you. If you don't fill out properly, we don't care. So you try to push back, but there's always a commercial limit of how you can do it or how much you can do it.
It all depends on the parties.
Yes. So creating a good and clear communication channel and try to deal with the humans instead of automation is always a good solution.
You could have a very small company processing very high risk data. We could have a very large supply chain partner who is not processing sensitive data. He put also as an additional remark, and
correct,
perfectly
correct. I mean, the typical example that I always use, for example, talking about a big airline company, that might be a supply which only would provide bottled water for the guests in the airline. So they would only know, amount of bottled data. They wouldn't get any information. So one of the first triage is, are we sharing any data? Are we sharing any PII? No matter the size of our commercial interaction with the other company, regardless.
Thank you both again for the comments. My next question is, what is the one non-negotiable red flag in 2026? Something that should stop a deal in its tracks regardless of the vendor's prestige, how big it is, or cost savings?
Nice question. If there is an unbounded secondary use of my data,
lovely answer. Yeah.
Or no enforceability, no transparency, no traceability.
I like it.
But still, many of us cross this red line by using free services such as social media, free services such as free emails, free chats using some bots and some applications.
And people will still be using them regardless of the red flags.
I do remember a couple of years ago, Meta or Facebook back then decided to change the end user agreement specific for some countries, including Turkey, to enforce that they could use the data. They still say that their chat is encrypted, but they use the metadata to profile and to do other things. And I remember there was some sort of a campaign by many people saying that, okay, now let's stop using WhatsApp and instead use Signal or Telegram or whatever the alternatives. But the trouble is, there is a critical mass you need so that you can use the other service. And unless all of your communicating parties would move to the other service, whatever that other service is, it's practically impossible to switch, because you need to be able to communicate, and that's for most people more important than your privacy. So I do have friends which they don't have any WhatsApp accounts. I envy them, but I cannot personally do it because I do need to communicate as well.
Exactly. And Chris said, we have been working with 3 vendors who have good tools for discovering shadow apps and shadow AI, but no matter how good they are right now, I strongly suspect there are huge gaps and work to be done. Do you agree? And yeah,
I do.
He asked something else, but let's go with this one first.
Yeah, I do agree. I mean, not much to agree. I mean, as long as the shadow thing is used within company devices, company environments, company networks, then there are tools on their own, and there are some add-ons to the existing tools to help us to detect and/or block the shadow of IT, shadow AI. But again, there are some gaps, as Chris said. I mean, we have some problem here.
And for the last question, he said, surely we ultimately, as professionals, have to hand over the red flag problem to business executives to make a business commercial decision, even if we say no to the red flag. Do you agree or not?
Of course. I mean, I have to agree. I mean, if there is no business to run, where is the risk?
Exactly. Thank you, Chris, for the comments. Please keep them going, and please, everyone, be influenced by Chris and how interactive it gets. We really enjoy taking questions. My last question for today, and then I'll leave it to the audience to ask any questions if they might have. When a vendor or a partner fails, how do we balance the legal need for public transparency with the operational need to remain in the trenches with that partner to stop the leak?
Well, I believe I don't have. I do have the moral answer to that, but I don't have the real answer. The real answer is actually been proved many times on the internet for any type of failing, any type of data disclosure or hacking or whatever like that. Unless there is a proper regulation in place to enforce everybody to disclose, nobody does properly. I mean,
Even
remember
if
there is
there's
now I can't remember his name, but I met him personally. And because of the talks, I personally believe he is not really he is one of the victims here, but at the end he got a verdict from the US, and he is no longer be able to work as a CISO. But even the CISO of back then, Uber, was convicted because it was before the regulation, and they, with him, paid the hackers not to disclose that they are actually hacked.
Yeah, I remember that. And
I can't remember his name, though.
I have a follow-up question with regard to this then. Like off topic
Okay.
from third-party risk management, but like again, I'm always curious about like how do we decide in case of a ransomware? Like should we pay or not? And like it all depends. As far as I know, it all depends on like there is this honor among thieves kind of rule, as I heard. Like who hacked your systems and who they are actually is the answer to this question in some sort of ways. But again, as the expert in the room, I would really like to get your opinion on this.
Well, there's a very long answer to that because with a friend, we basically retrieved tens of thousands of chat or emails back and forth between victims and ransomware hackers. And we got some statistics. We created a 1-hour presentation. It was very valuable. At the end, what I can tell you is it depends. I mean, unfortunately, I cannot give you a definitive answer. The thing is that as long as you have a proper solution, you can back up you can basically just continue your operations, or at least continue after a certain period from your own backups. You don't need to pay. But then because the number of victims that don't pay increased, hackers started not only encrypt your data, but also copy some of the data to themselves so that they can at least just get some ransom, not to disclose the information they have. And I don't know where is the ethics, because they continue to attack hospitals. There are patients dying. They don't care. The only thing that I have noticed is if the victim by any chance is from old Soviet Union companies, organizations, and if they find out later, they mostly apologize and give the key immediately without money.
That's interesting. Wow. Fun fact. It is.
It's a fun fact, exactly.
And yeah, thank you for the answer. Please, by the way, let us know if you have any questions or not. In the meantime, I'm putting another Google Meet link, and it's for the privacy in machine learning session that will start after this. So Murat, you're very welcome to join us in that session as well. We're gonna have
Thank you.
Osman Gazi Güçlütürk, an OECD AI expert from Turkey, will be hosting the session. And my last question to you, while we're waiting for the audience to ask any questions if they have, is like, now we have like for years we have ISO 27001, then we had 27701 for data protection, and now the most hot new shot version is the 42000 for AI governance. And
Yes.
based again on your years of expertise in the field, which over like 30 years now, how effective are these frameworks in real life? Or are they just like a checklist compliance mechanisms that are just there to pass the audits and for reputation? Or do you see a real benefit of these programs and frameworks? Or what could be improved, let's say, in order to get the benefit that they claim that they have?
Well, any checklist, any checklist and any audit can be passed by faking some of the data, right? So intention is the key here. I believe, regardless of the standard, regardless of what we're doing, what should be done is the management should direct the team to have a certifiable but a working solution instead of a certification.
Thank you. That makes sense. But unfortunately, many organizations are just doing it to pass the audit and not the intention, as you said. That's my humble observations, at least. So, like, I was really curious about your answer on it.
Well, unfortunately, yes. I mean, I wouldn't put all eggs into the same basket. I do know companies who are really working hard. Not that somebody asked them to be certified, not that a regulation requires a certification, not that the customer requires certification, but they'd like to do it just to do their thing properly. However, unfortunately, my observation is that those companies are also a few when you compare to the overall bunch.
Unfortunately. So, thank you so much, Murat, for the amazing opening session.
Thank you.
Now we're gonna have like a 15-minute break. Then we will be jumping on the other call for the privacy in machine learning session, everyone. And if you lose the link I just sent in the chat, go back to the first email you received when you registered to the event. There you could find all the Google Meet links pertaining to the relevant sessions. So thank you so much for again the amazing session, Murat, and hope to see you soon in other events as well. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you, Marsha. Thanks, guys.
Ciao, ciao.